Ladies and gentlemen, just look at these ginormous stat gains. I have been grinding Wintertide and Temporos like a madman. And thanks to RuneLite, I can actually show you exactly what I've earned. Look at this. Tons of materials and APs of the Pyromancer outfit and even a runeful helm. And I just want to scroll through the bank just real quick so you guys can see how it's looking at this point in the game. Now, I know my bank tap discipline is nowhere near good enough. Please don't hate on me too much. There's a problem, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Ironman's combat stats? Well, let's just say he'd probably lose to a duel to a shrimp wielding a wet noodle. And I am tired of walking everywhere. Yes, I do have the Varrock teleport with the Chronicle, and I'm grateful for that, but I need more, especially when I have to reach the west side of Gielinor. And that means, you might have guessed it, it's time to grind some more quests. I went to Adoin and spoke with Edmund. He couldn't find his daughter anywhere, and I agreed to help him find her. So I grabbed a picture of his daughter, dug a tunnel to infiltrate a plague-infected area of the city. That sounds like a really bad idea. 1, 2, 3, teamwork! Nice. Before entering, I did of course put on a gas mask, which will definitely help prevent plague. With picture in hand, I went around and asked if anybody had seen Edmund's daughter, and I eventually found out she had been captured and quarantined. To enter the building where she was held captive, I needed a warrant. Luckily, the Duke of this plague-infected city had a hangover, and since I'm that guy that always carry a hangover remedy with me, because you never know, I offered to give it to him, in turn of a warrant. One thing led to another, and I ended up completing the quest. After rescuing Edmund's daughter, Elena, she needed help with her investigation into the so-called plague. I had to sneak back into the plague city, and with the help of Jericho, is he half naked? Pigeons, and a hooded man, I got in. Once inside, disguised as a doctor, I walked right into the lion's den. I killed the guy, convincing me, retrieved a distillator, and returned to Elena. Next step was to smuggle a plague sample and various other interesting things to Gaidor, who lives in Varrock. I handed him all the items he needed, and he did a bit of testing and found out there is no plague. I returned to Elena, dropped the bombshell, went to tell the king, quest complete. Yeah, buddy. So since we've completed Plague City and Biohazard, we can do the easy RD diary tasks. And so I did. And by the way, the fishing trawler minigame, it's, yeah, that was interesting. All right, we did it, ladies and gentlemen. We got the cloak and the antique lamp, which I will be spending on, god damn it, no reply, agility. 2.5k experience, I'll take that. And now with the cloak, we should be able to just teleport to the monastery at all times. Amazing stuff. I spoke to a woman named Almira, and she told me about her son, who apparently jumped into a waterfall in search of treasure. Naturally, I decided to do the same, and being this efficient Ironman that I am, I took a raft instead. It crashed. Instantly. After gathering my bearings, I found the kid, who turned out to be a complete brat. Therefore, I decided to steal the treasure he was mumbling about, so I swam towards the fabled Waterfall caves. Oh! The current is too strong. I knew I should have trained strength. But my failure was not without reward. As I fell down the waterfall, I saw the entrance to the cave and decided to try again. This time with a rope. Managed to get to the entrance, but after further investigations, I found out I needed a form of key. It was clear to me that I needed to do some research. So I found a dusty old book and I read it. It told tales of an ancient elven warrior, Baxtorian, and his wife Gloriel, who sealed their treasure deep behind the falls. And to enter, I needed two things, Gloriel's amulet and urn, both resting in her tomb. But to even enter her tomb, I had to help her descendant, a gnome named Glory, who somehow managed to trap himself inside a room beneath a tree gnome village. After helping him out, he handed me a magic pebble. Pebble in hand, I entered Gloriel's tomb, while wearing no weapons or armor as required. Inside, I had to dance with death, looted her urn, and claimed her amulet from the memorial. With both items secured, I could finally enter the waterfall dungeon. Inside, fire giants and a maze of locked doors. I got through it all, solved the puzzle, placed Gloriel's urn into the chalice, and held my breath. And boom! Hell yeah! Waterfall Quest complete. Look And that XP gain? 30 strength! Oh my god, 30 attack! Mr. Ironman is now strong. Or stronger, I guess. I spoke to a woman named Lady Servile. Her husband and son had been kidnapped by General Khazard and forced into the brutal fight arena. I agreed to help, but to get inside, I had to disguise myself. I snuck past the guards and found her son, Sammy. To get the key to his cell, I mingled with one of the guards, challenged him to a drinking contest, and won. He then passed out, so I grabbed the keys and rescued Sammy, only to have him run off right into the fight arena to help his dad. Oh boy. It was up to me to save the day by safe spotting. Then the big boss, General Khazard, showed up and I was imprisoned. Long story short, I had to do even more safe spotting. Killed his dog, he got angry, killed him, I thought. Well, at least the son and husband walked free. Quest complete. 36 attack. Damn. I spoke to the Gnome King Bolrun. He told me their sacred orbs of protection had been stolen by the Khazard forces, and thus the Tree Gnome village stood defenseless. So I chose to assist these gnomes and went to the battlefield. And then I fired a huge ballista the size of a house. For that only reason, to make an entrance into the watchtower where allegedly there was an orb of protection. I went through my door and found the orb. There was one orb left to get, and I had to fight the big, the bad Khazard guy. And by the power of my moves, he was too stunned to attack back, and he eventually fell. I grabbed the last orb, went back to Bolrun, and thus I saved the Gnome Tree Village. Whoa. What is happening? Quest complete. 40 attack. We can now use Rune. I went to the Grand Tree and spoke with King Nanot Shireen. This tree was the heart of the Gnome realm, and it was dying, and the king asked me to investigate. He sent me in the direction of Hasselmere, an expert recluse. And for some reason, he spoke in Norwegian. Luckily, being of Danish descent, I could understand a little. He said something about Draconia rocks, and someone was using those to kill the tree. I rushed back to tell the king, and he directed me to Glow, his head guardian. And when I confronted him, he just blamed humans and insisted he would handle it himself. And a couple of minutes later, meet Charlie, the man who supposedly was poisoning the tree. I started questioning Charlie, and he mentioned he was doing it on Glow's orders. I didn't really believe him, but since I'm an advocate of truth, I wanted to get to the bottom of this. I went to Glow's residence and found his journal. And sure enough, invasion plans. I confronted Glow, and he had me arrested. Luckily, the king showed up, apologized, and let me out. But for some reason, Glow was seeing red, and the king wanted me to flee, using a gnome glider. It crashed. Like, that is the last time I'm using transportation of any kind. But to my luck, we crashed right next to the port where Glow allegedly was building warships to attack humans. I went undercover and found even more damning evidence that Glow was actually behind everything. Again, I returned to the king with this evidence, but he was blinded with trust in Glow and denied the evidence. So I needed more. Again, I returned to Glow's residence and I discovered a secret passageway. And to my dismay, Glow greeted me with a level 172 Black Demon. I fought hard with skill and safe spotting. I used the safe spot, okay? Once the demon was defeated, I continued on in the passageway. I was now exactly beneath the Grand Tree where I met the king, and this time, he finally believed me. But it was not over. There was still one rock left to find in these roots. I started to search the nearby route, and as luck would have it, I found it first try. I returned to the king, and I saved the day once again. There we go. The Grand Tree complete. 38 agility, 44 attack, and 30 magic. We are getting some huge gains, boys. I stumbled upon a merchant named Ali Musain in El Kahid. He claimed his nephew had vanished in a desert town called Polnimnich and offered me money if I could find him and bring him back. And so, after a magical carpet ride, I ended up at the town. As usual, my investigation took me straight to the pub, and here I met drunken Jalal, who said that the merchant's nephew might be caught in the town gang's feud. I discovered the Menophites and the bandits were in a gang war over a stolen camel that each side claimed the other took. So I set up a plan. I bought 2 camels and handed receipts to both sides, but they demanded 10 more. If you can't beat it, infiltrate it. I infiltrated the Menophites. To gain their trust, I had to pickpocket a villager and knock one out and loot him. I'm sorry. Then came the jewel heist. I broke into the mayor's house, and with some fidgeting, I cracked the safe and stole the mayor's wife, Jules. I returned, and suddenly they spoke of a traitor. I got a bit scared. Luckily, it turned out to be traitorous Ali, and they wanted me to be a hitman. So I collected snake venom, camel dung, gave it to a desert witch, who then in return made a poison, and then I laced the traitor's beer. With the mission accomplished, I returned. The Menophites told me about their true agenda. Right then and there, I knew I had to stop them. So I began fighting, using my best battle tactics. Safe spotting. After killing a tough guy, the leader fled, vowing revenge. But now the Menophites were no more. Gloriously, I went to speak with a villager and asked him if peace had returned since the Menophites were gone. Angry, the villager replied that the balance was now uneven between the bandits and the Menophites. And so, to fix the new problem, I went to the bandit leader, defeated his champion, and issued the leader an ultimatum. Leave or die. He left, and now the bandits and the Menophites were no more. And thus I spoke with the mayor and tried to learn more about Ali's nephew. I learned that he was exiled for aggressive PR practices. He had orchestrated the feud for promoting his shop. And it got me thinking. I went straight back to Al Kharid to speak with Ali, the merchant. He admitted he was actually the nephew. But luckily, my thirst for revenge and justice had already been quenched by the quest, so I let it slide for a price. There we go, the feud complete. And 47 thieving. Not bad. And that concludes this episode, ladies and gentlemen. I will be standing here blackjacking bandits for quite a while. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and I'll see you in the next one.